So we see here, we are going to do our double check on all of our tool pathing and the job setup for our sign. And you can see I've made a very simple sign. The Wayzata is written with a pocket tool path, which means it takes the letter and cuts out anything between two lines. And the bottom Trojans, that is written out in a profile tool path, meaning the router bit just follows the profile or follows the black line of the writing. And you may have a picture or image there. Either one of those is fine. We talked about it in the how-to videos that we can get too little and geometry doesn't work, but we're not here to talk about that. What we're here to do is to double check all of our settings before we send this to the CNC router. The first thing I'm going to do is click right over here, and I'm going to look at my job setup. Everybody should be doing a 15x7 sign, and I need to make sure my thickness is 0.75. Not that critical, but I'll get it right. Z0 position is material surface. The XY position is the center, and then I'm going to come down here and say OK. I'm going to go back to my 2D view so I can see this now. Because I have my thickness at a 1/2 inch instead of 3/4, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say recalculate all, and it's going to recalculate all of my tool paths to make sure that they're going to work. Next, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to uncheck these and look at each tool path independently. So pocket 1, I'm going to look at, and this is the Wayzata part. So it's going to hollow out everything inside the W. The tool that I'm choosing to use is an 1/8 inch end mill. You can use a different one if you would like, but I'm just going to look at the settings for the 1/8 inch end mill, make sure it's in tool number 1. Generally, we say we use the biggest tool that we can. So if I could get a 1/4 inch end mill, I would use that. But what's really important is that all of these are going to be in tool number 1. No matter what, tool number 1. Say OK. Cut depth is an 1/8 of an inch. That's great. I wouldn't go much deeper than that. 1 pass is fine. We got to ramp the plunge, move an inch, because it uses a bit that does not have a tip on it. It's a flat bottom, so it has to come in at an angle or it's going to make a big burn or break the bit. And I'm going to rename this. I'm going to rename it my initials, KS, and then the bit that I'm using, 125. I could say 0.125. KS 0.125. That way I know when I go to the router to pull up my file, I know which bit that I'm using. So it's really important, your initials and then which bit is going to be used to cut this part out. Say calculate, and if I want to preview the visible toolpath, I can. If I've done something weird and made any changes, I can hit the reset. Then I can hit preview all toolpaths or preview visible toolpath. So when I hit this reset button, it wasn't visible, so now I can go back to preview visible toolpath, and I can see that's what I like. I can see I'm going in about an 1/8 of an inch. That one's good. So I'm going to come over here to profile 1. That is the Trojans part. I'm going to cut it a 1/16 of an inch deep. You can go deeper if you want. You can go shallower. The deeper you go, the less detail you have. It doesn't really matter which V-bit you use because we're hardly going in at all. So any of these V-bits will be fine. We want it to be in tool 1. Select. I am going to go on top of the line. So we want the middle of V-bit to trace the line. I don't need separate last path. I don't need tabs. I don't need ramps because this is a pointy tool bit. And I'm going to change this again to KS V-bit, so I know which bit that I'm going to use. Now, it's kind of ridiculous. Let's go preview all. I wouldn't, if I was making this sign, I wouldn't do one like the Trojans. I wouldn't do a profile tool path in the Wayzata, a pocket tool path. I'm just doing both of these to demonstrate them to you. It would be kind of silly to do them. One, it's an unnecessary tool change. We want to have as few tool changes as possible. All right, last thing we need to do is we need to save this. So I'm going to go File, Save As, and I would save this whole file. Make sure you have it saved in your Google Drive. I'm not actually going to save it, but save it in your Google Drive so you can always get back to it. But that doesn't actually save the tool path. What we want to do now, I'll come back to my 2D view, is I want to make sure these are both checked, and I'm going to use this Save button over here. And what this is going to do is it's actually going to save the tool path as something the CNC file can, or the CNC router can read. So I'm going to plug a flash drive in right now. And then I'm going to come over here. I need to make sure my post processor for this is going to be the CNC Shark. If you don't see the CNC Shark as an option, you're going to have to use a different computer. It's kind of a process to get that back in. But you're going to do CNC Shark, and you're also going to make sure up here it says visible toolpaths to multiple files. we want to have all these toolpaths saved as a different file. So then I'll say save. If you have one of these wrong boxes checked, you're not going to be able to run it. And I've got a bad USB drive, so it keeps coming in and out. So I'll say save. Let's see if my USB drive shows up. And you can see the USB drive on my computer is bad. It keeps popping in and out. So let's see if we can get it to come back here. My USB drive, I'll unplug it and plug it back in, see if I can get it done quick. Maybe we're just donezo. Well, I would find your USB drive. I'm just going to do it on my desktop. Save it. You can save it something very small because it's actually going to put those tool profile names in behind it. So I'll just call it KS again under file name and then save. Again, you would save this to the USB drive, but I have a bad USB drive on my computer, so I can't save it. I'll hit save, and then I'll go show you what it looks like. So if I go to my desktop, where I saved it, right here are those 2 bits, and I would come on the USB drive that it's on, say F2, and then just rename, get rid of this first part that says KS-1. We can just get to this part right here, F2, and I just need the KS, and then the V bit is fine. Just like that. And then you would now bring that flash drive back to the blue CNC router. All of you who are doing signs will be using the blue CNC router, and we'll meet you back there.